The clock above the emergency doors refused to budge. Or maybe my vision was so blurred from crying that the second hand looked frozen in place. I sat there, numb, staring at the double doors as if Ethan might walk back through them and tell me this was all some sick misunderstanding. Instead, a nurse stepped out slowly, peeling off her gloves with that practiced gentleness they use when words are about to change someone's life. She didn't need to speak. I read the truth in her eyes before she got within 10 feet of me. He was gone. Ethan, my husband, my anchor, the man who could make me laugh when I didn't even want to breathe. One minute he was driving home from a long shift, the next his heart betrayed him in silence behind the wheel. No warning. No goodbye. They told me he didn't suffer. But my body felt like it had split open. I dropped into a plastic chair in the hallway, its cold edge digging into my spine. My hands shook as I gripped my purse strap like it was the only thing holding me to the earth. I didn't think. I just called the only people left in my life who were supposed to care. "Mom," I whispered when she picked up, voice already breaking, "It's Ethan. He didn't make it. I need you. Can you please come? Please?" In the background I heard plates, people talking, someone laughing too loudly. Then my mother's voice, bright and distracted. "Oh sweetheart, we're celebrating Lily's birthday right now. Everyone's here, the cake just came out. Could this wait until tomorrow?" My jaw locked. I couldn't get a single word out. She didn't wait for one anyway. "Try to rest, okay? We'll check in." Then she hung up. They never came. Not that night when my world cracked in half. Not the next morning when I had to pick out a funeral home. Not even when I signed the first stack of papers, the ones that made everything official. I chose the casket alone. I picked out the clothing he'd be buried in. I explained death to our 8-year-old daughter, Claire, while the sun rose through the blinds like nothing had happened. Claire climbed into my lap and cried into my shirt until she fell asleep. I held her because there was no one left to hold me. 3 days later, my parents finally appeared. They didn't bring flowers. They didn't bring food. They brought themselves, smelling faintly of expensive perfume and obligation. Mom sat stiffly on my couch, glanced around my living room, and asked, "So? Did he leave you everything? You know how tricky inheritance stuff can get." Dad followed with, "We helped with that down payment years ago. It's only reasonable we get our share, considering the circumstances." Claire stood in the doorway, silent and pale. She disappeared down the hall for a minute, then returned with a small white envelope held tightly in her hands. She came right up to them. "Here," she said quietly. "It's what you want anyway." Her voice didn't tremble, but her fingers did. Mom blinked, took the envelope as if it might burn her fingers. Inside was a letter I'd prepared for them, a summary of the will, the trust, the way everything was legally set up. Claire didn't wait to see their reaction. She just turned back to me, slid her hand into mine, and whispered, "Can we go home now? My name is Anna Graves, and if you're watching this, stay with me. Because losing the love of your life tears you apart in one violent moment. But being ignored by your own parents while you drown, that's a pain that lingers, that spreads like a bruise and never completely fades. Growing up, I believed that if I worked hard enough, if I made myself small and easy and quiet, maybe my parents would finally look at me the way they looked at Lily. Lily with the perfect curls and the spotlight laugh. Lily who got the new clothes, the extra love, the attention like it was oxygen they saved only for her. I was the kid who got forgotten in school pickup lines. They always remembered her. They always forgot me. Meeting Ethan was the first time I felt seen. He wasn't wealthy or flashy. He wasn't some man chasing a title. He worked as a paramedic, came home with tired feet and a tender heart. He listened. Really listened. When he held me, it felt like everything that hurt in my childhood had finally been acknowledged. But to my parents? He was a disappointment. Just average, they'd say behind tight smiles. "Anna, don't you want someone with more ambition?" They refused to come to our wedding. So we got married anyway, just the two of us in a quiet garden, me already carrying Claire under my heart. Ethan told me not to worry, that he was enough family for both of us. A month later, my parents threw Lily an engagement party with ice sculptures and catered hors d'oeuvres. They posted every second online. They never once asked me how married life was. When Claire was born, I sent photos. Weeks went by without a reply. Eventually they came to visit. Mom held Claire like she was staring at a stranger's baby. She smiled politely and said, "She looks like Ethan, doesn't she?" They never called for birthdays. They didn't know her favorite color or her favorite bedtime story. But for Lily's twins, they built a full nursery in their house. Claire noticed. She always noticed. "Why don't Grandma and Grandpa like me?" she asked one night. I told her they were busy. But the truth sat heavy in my chest. We simply didn't fit their perfect family picture. So Ethan and I made our own family out of little rituals, Sunday pancakes, messy backyard play, long hugs after work. We didn't have much, but we had everything that mattered. And when he died, the only arms around me were Claire's. My parents were still at Lily's party, slicing cake and clinking glasses. And when they finally did show up, they didn't come for grief. They came for what they thought they deserved. Grief isn't a straight line. It circles, doubles back, chews you raw. For days after the funeral, I walked through the house like a ghost of myself. I planned the entire service alone, chose the music he once said he liked, wrote the eulogy with trembling hands. Claire followed me everywhere, quiet and watchful. My parents didn't send flowers. Lily posted a black and white selfie with a caption misspelling Ethan's name. On the day of the funeral, my parents arrived 10 minutes late, sat in the back row, and left the moment the service ended. They didn't say a single word to their grandchild. A few days later, Mom called with a soft voice that nearly fooled me. "Sweetheart, how are you holding up?" "Almost kind." "Almost." Then she added, "We wanted to talk about some things regarding Ethan's arrangements." They came dressed as if meeting investors. My father even wore a tie. We sat in the living room where Ethan's slippers still rested near the fireplace, and Mom immediately began circling the topic like a hawk. Houses, savings, assets. Dad leaned in with the final blow. Transparency is important in these situations. Things need to be considered fairly. I didn't break. I didn't even cry. Something inside me simply went cold. "Are you asking if Ethan left you money?" I said. Mom gave that tight smile she uses when she wants something. "Well, we did help with your down payment all those years ago." Claire stood in the hallway, listening. That night, she asked me what fairly meant. I told her nothing she needed to carry. My parents hadn't lost a son-in-law. They lost an opportunity. The next morning, I stopped being soft. I called Ethan's lawyer, Mr. Rowe, a man who had handled everything with quiet respect. Ethan may not have had millions, but he had left a legacy of preparation. A trust. A will. Plans for Claire's future. Everything organized down to the smallest detail. Mr. Rowe greeted me with a folder already waiting. We reviewed it page by page. Every cent was left to Claire, with me as the trustee. My parents were nowhere in the documents. I asked to update parts of the trust. Add protections. Seal every possible crack. He nodded. We added clauses, closed loopholes, tightened boundaries. By the time I left, the estate was ironclad. That night I began building my own file at home. A thick, physical folder with locks and labels. Inside, copies of the will. Trust statements. A letter documenting my parents' behavior. Screenshots of their messages. And tucked in the very front, a handwritten note from Ethan that I had kept folded in my wallet. "Whatever happens, protect Claire first. She's our legacy." I felt no anger. Only purpose. That night, as I sat at the table sorting paperwork, Claire walked into the room. She was holding her stuffed bear and rubbing her eyes. "What are you doing, Mommy?" "Just organizing things," I said softly. She looked at the papers, then at me. "They're coming for what's not theirs, huh?" I paused. She wasn't a baby anymore. She was watching, learning. I closed the folder, walked over, and knelt in front of her. "Yes," I said, "but they'll leave with what they deserve." She nodded once like she understood more than an 8-year-old should. I pulled her close, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "And you, my love, you'll get everything your daddy wanted for you." They rang the doorbell like guests, like people with a right to knock. My parents stood outside with a Tupperware container of lemon cake and the kind of smiles people wear at church funerals. "Polished, practiced, empty. Hi, sweetie." My mom said, "We just wanted to check in, see how you're coping." I let them in. Not out of kindness, but because I wanted them to see what they never really looked at, the home Ethan built with his hands. The framed crayon drawings Claire made for Father's Day. The pictures on the mantle off laughter, not luxury. They sat stiffly in the living room, commenting in the new rug, the scented candles. Then, Dad cleared his throat. "I know this is a difficult time," he began. "And we want to be respectful, but we also want to make sure things are handled fairly. Ethan was part of our family, too." Mom nodded quickly. "And I just can't help but wonder what he would have wanted. Surely, he'd want to honor all the people in his life." That was when Claire entered the room. Quiet, calm, holding a sealed white envelope with both hands. She walked straight toward him. "This is for you," she said. "That's why you came, right?" They blinked, stunned. Mom took the envelope with shaking fingers, opened it slowly. Inside, a certified copy of Ethan's will, stamped and signed. Every asset legally bound to me and Claire. A trust document with Claire's name etched in bold. Undeniable letters, and one photo. It was a picture of me at 5 years old. Sitting on my childhood bed, arms crossed, tears in my eyes. My mother sitting beside me, looking at her phone. Attached was a small sticky note. "This the last time you ever held me. Don't pretend to care now." The air left the room. Mom's lips parted, but no sound came out. Dad looked pale like he'd seen a ghost. Claire stood tall, voice steady. Daddy left everything to the people who truly loved him. That's what he wanted. They didn't argue, couldn't. The truth had come wrapped not in fire, but in paper, unshakable, legal, cold, and most of all, earned. They placed the envelope back on the coffee table and stood. I didn't walk them to the door. Claire didn't say goodbye. The only sound Asti left was the slow creak of the floorboards. Like the house itself had waited years for them to leave. The storm came the next morning. Not rain, not thunder, just a barrage of angry texts and voicemails. My mom's voice high-pitched and furious. How dare you humiliate us like that after everything we've done for you? Dad's message cold unclipped. You think this is over? Just wait until the family hears what kind of daughter you are. They'd finally read every page of the documents Claire handed them. And they didn't find loopholes. They found locks. Airtight, ironclad, untouchable. So they did what manipulators do when control slips. They performed. Lily called next side dramatically and said, "Look, I'm not trying to pick sides, but they are parents. They raised us, fed us. Maybe just give them something, anything." I didn't yell. I didn't defend. I asked one question. Do you remember your wedding? She paused. Of course. Do you remember the $30,000 they spent on the venue? The designer dress? The private chef? Yeah. And the down payment on your first home? Silence. I paid for my own wedding. I said they didn't even show up. Ethan and I slept in a borrowed motel room that night. No gifts, no calls, more silence. They raised you, they tolerated me. That was the last time Lily called. But the story didn't stay quiet. Our cousin Leah, blunt, unfiltered, texted me after seeing the scene unfold in our extended family group chat. Your mom's trying to say you stole from the family, but I saw the documents. Claire's name is on everything. Ethan protected you. I respect that. Others reached out slowly, carefully. Some offering support. Some apologizing for never seeing the favoritism. They'd always thought I was just distant. Now they understood I was surviving. Mom and Dad tried to spin it. Anna turned cold after Ethan died. She's poisoning the child against us. She's unstable with grief. But their story unraveled just like their grip. Every move they made now wired off desperation. They showed up at family events and were met with polite nods, not warm hugs. They told their version of things and no one clapped because I never fought back. I never raised my voice. I never dragged them through the mud. I didn't have to. The truth was louder than anything they had left. And in the silence they used to ignore me with, they now sat alone, isolated, humiliated. Not because I destroyed them, but because they finally had to leave in the world they built without me. We moved in early spring. The new house wasn't big, just 2 bedrooms, a small garden, and a porch that creaked when Claire jumped too hard on it, which she did often, but it was ours. No ghosts, no shadows, no obligations. We painted Claire's room light blue. She taped her drawings to the wall. In the evenings she'd sit by the window and read the way Ethan used to. Sometimes I caught her whispering to the sky like she was telling him about her day. She started thriving at school, winning art contests, raising her hand in class, laughing with that wide-open mouth she always used to cover. Her teacher once told me, "Claire has a calm confidence I rely see in kids." I smiled. She gets it from her dad. But I was changing too. One morning, I walked into the community center and left a sticky note on the board. Grieving isn't weakness, come sit with someone who gets it. 5 women showed up that Friday, then 9, then 15. It wasn't formal, just tea, folding chairs, and honesty. We didn't compare losses. We just shared them. And slowly, I stopped drowning. Late one night, I wrote out everything that had happened from the hospital call to the envelope Claire handed over. I posted it anonymously on a women's support forum under the title, "They came for the inheritance. My daughter gave them the truth." Within hours, it went viral, comments flooded in. Women from all over the world writing, "This is my story, too. You gave me courage. Your daughter's a lion, just like her mother." I didn't respond to all of them, but I read every word. And then I did something that made me cry for an entirely different reason. I opened a scholarship in Ethan's name. The Ethan Graves Foundation for Daughters Who Were Ignored. It offered small annual grants to girls raised in toxic homes, money for books, therapy, even an escape fund. The first recipient was a teenager who left a note with her application. I never thought someone would build something for people like us. But Ethan had. He just didn't know it yet. I framed one of his old photos, the one where he's holding Claire on his shoulders, both of them laughing, face tilted to the sun. It sits on my nightstand. That night, I picked it up, kissed the glass, and whispered, "I told you I'd protect her." The auditorium was filled with clapping hands, proud families, and stage lights that made everything glow. Claire stood at the podium in her navy blazer, reading her acceptance speech with a voice so steady and sure. It gave me chills. She was 14 now, taller than me, braver than I ever was at her age. She had just received the Young Leader in Arts and Advocacy Award for organizing a mural project in the city's underserved schools. Each piece representing a child who felt forgotten, unheard, unseen. My daughter turned pain into paint, just like her father turned quiet into strength. Ash stepped down from the stage, her eyes scanned the crowd until they landed on me. She smiled, a real, proud, healing smile. I stood and clapped with everything I had. And then, like a ghost that didn't know when to leave, my phone buzzed. Mom. The name lit up the screen and for a second I just stared at it. I hadn't blocked her. I didn't need to lethe or see the life she chose to walk away from. Without a second thought, I silenced the call and slid the phone into my purse. Outside, the sky was soft and golden like it knew what the moment meant. Claire walked beside me, holding her little glass award. Mom, she asked gently. Do you ever miss them? I didn't answer right away. I wanted to be careful with the truth. Finally, I said, I miss the parents I wished I had, booty don't miss who they really were. She nodded. No sadness, just understanding. We stopped at the top of a small hill behind the venue. From there, we could see the mural she helped paint. Bright, brave colors wrapping around an otherwise gray building. There were no portraits of villains, just strength, just memory, just forward motion. Claire turned toward me. Did ever think we'd end up okay? I smiled through the lump in my throat. He knew we would. He made sure of it. She leaned into me and together we walked toward the parking lot, the light stretching long and warm behind us. And as our footsteps faded into the glow of the evening, I thought off everything we'd lost and everything we'd built from that loss. The noise faded, the drama died, and what remained was ours. Because some people come for the inheritance, but love that's never for